Yes, and even say within the United States, there are so many different experiences too. And so I think it comes from a place of recognizing it, even in the way in which we go about teaching. So there is this, it's a tacit understanding that in the classroom, the curriculum is not diverse, especially in terms of the reading assignments. In the reading assignments, how many of the textbooks are written by BIPOC individuals, for example? Even in the communication journals, I think there is a piece that was released about 3 or so years ago called Communication So White. And it really did the survey of the top journals in the field. And it was shocking how much of that scholarship did not give voice to the experiences of people of color. They just said people of color broadly, but if you're thinking about women of color, it's even less. And so I think there's a lot more. It's not like these people aren't producing work, but the work is not seen as legitimate. It's not necessarily given a platform. And so people will question. When I do my work about the Caribbean, I always have to make the case as to why. I have to justify why it's an important thing to talk about. And so there are many journals who will not even, unless you can compare it or show that it's an experience that's also relevant to the West, then it's not taken seriously at all. So I think that mindset needs to change. I will use one course that I teach as an example. So I developed this course called Communication for Social Change. And I teach that every other spring now at RIT. And what I try to do is to bring in that experiential learning aspect, what I call engaged learning, so that students can connect with not just what they're learning in class, but to see how it applies to a real world setting. And to see how that particular scholarship can be a tool to kind of engage social justice issues. And so in that course, the students are required, one assignment, they're required to do a podcast with a local activist that's talking about a social justice issue that they find important. And then they have this semester-long project where they have to choose another social justice issue that they care about and to create a campaign as to how they would go about whatever their message is, whether it's about raising awareness or creating some sort of action around that. In another course that I teach, Communication, Gender, and Media, we actually worked with these local community organizations that were focused on advocacy for women. And so the students in groups partnered with one of these organizations, again, to create a campaign around raising awareness regarding domestic and intimate partner violence. Some of the organizations were the Ignite, which focused on the deaf community in Rochester, a very, very underserved community, especially when it comes to issues of domestic and intimate partner violence. And so they were able to not just be in the classroom and learn, but they were able to experience. And I think based on, at the end, I had to do this reflective essay, and I was very taken aback as to how much they felt they learned something else about what they could do with their education. It's not just something in a book, but something that is applicable, and learning so much about the lives of other people that they wouldn't otherwise have encountered. And so some of them are very shocked by one of the statistics. We learned that 1 in 2 person from the deaf and hard of hearing community will experience sexual violence in their life. And so I think that was very eye-opening for them. And so I try to do more of those things. It's not always possible because it takes a lot of time, but wherever I can, I do. Yes, well, once you feel that you found your calling, your passion, if you may, and you're committed to it, I think that's the first step, to recognize that this is really, really what I want to do, no matter what anybody else says about it. And so I think that's the first step if you've made that decision and have that recognition. I would also say a mentor is something that would be very helpful and very important, because that mentor will not only help you with the academic side of things, but how to navigate that space successfully, because it can become daunting at times. It also help you with figuring out, networking opportunities for things like publication, and just the lay of the land that you may not recognize, what it actually looks like when you're just starting off. So I think having a mentor, and not to be limited in who you consider your mentor to be, and that you're never too old to have a mentor. I have mentors even now. One of them is a 70-year-old white man, but a very dear friend who has taught me a lot and has been an ally. So your mentor can also be an ally for you in your work and in your scholarship.